I am Elias. There is a cry that rises from countless hearts across the world, often late at night, often through quiet tears or in the middle of an ordinary day when the weight becomes too heavy. It is the plea for a sign that heaven is real, that prayer is not wasted breath, that Mary has heard and remembered. So many people have whispered this request, asking for clarity, for direction, for a single, unmistakable touch. They beg to be shown that they are seen, that they are not abandoned in their confusion. They wait for the sky to split, for statues to move, for something so luminous that it cannot be denied. And when that does not happen, they go back to their routines, convinced that no answer has come, that perhaps they are speaking into emptiness. They do not know that Mary has been answering them all along, in a language almost no one is taught to read. Mary is a mother, and mothers who love deeply do not always shout. They give signs in ways that do not crush the soul, signs that respect freedom, signs that do not overwhelm the delicate soil where trust must grow. She could, if she wished, send blazing wonders that would bend your will. But she prefers to hide her tenderness inside the ordinary fabric of your days. Her signs arrive as unexpected peace in the middle of a storm, as sudden clarity when confusion has lasted for years, as coincidences that are too precise to be accidents, as people who appear at the exact moment you are about to fall. They come through timing, through interruptions, through fragile desires that surface in the heart after long periods of numbness. They are woven into light on a wall, into a line you read without looking for it, into a journey you did not plan to make. The difficulty is not that her signs are rare, but that they are humble. Your gaze is usually fixed too high, waiting for thunder, while her messages run quietly at ground level, close to your feet, close to your heart. Sometimes the first sign Mary gives is simply that you notice your own longing. There are seasons in which a person who has lived for years without thinking of God suddenly feels restless. A kind of thirst rises from within, not for a particular object, but for something more, something that no success or pleasure has yet satisfied. This inner ache is not the absence of her. It is one of her signatures. She has begun to stir the deep waters of the soul, as a mother wakes her child with a gentle touch, not with a shout. She wakes desire with a soft, persistent unease. You begin to feel that the old explanations are too small, that your life is meant for a love you have not yet met. This awareness is not your own achievement. It is Mary answering your unspoken request for a sign by making you feel, sometimes painfully, that your heart is made for more than you have allowed it to receive. There are signs of comfort that arrive on days when you think you do not deserve any comfort at all. You drag yourself into a church, or you sit in your room unable to form a single articulate prayer. You do not expect anything. You feel empty, or angry, or embarrassed to be there. Then, without warning, something soft breaks inside you. Perhaps it is tears that begin to fall with no clear reason. Perhaps it is a warmth in the chest where before there was only a dull weight. Perhaps it is a sudden sense that you are not alone in the room. Nothing visible has changed, yet the air feels less heavy. For a moment, your defenses fall and you feel held without accusation. This is one of the ways Mary speaks. She does not need long sentences or dramatic visions. She reaches into the locked places and touches a wound lightly, not to reopen it, but to allow it to breathe. The tears you could not cry for years suddenly flow, and afterward there is a fragile peace. Many dismiss this as emotion, as psychology, as exhaustion. It is those things, but it is also grace. It is a sign that she has come close. Mary often uses beauty as a sign for those whose hearts have grown tired. You may be walking home, weighed down with worries, and suddenly your eyes are drawn to the evening sky. The colors are more vivid than you noticed before, or a ray of light breaks through clouds in a way that pierces you. It lasts only a minute, but in that minute the world feels less hostile. Or you hear a piece of music that you have heard many times, but this time it enters you differently, awakening tenderness and gratitude you thought were gone. Or a flower in a neglected corner of a street catches your attention, and you are strangely moved by its fragile persistence. Mary is not the creator of these things, but she bends your attention toward them. She touches your perception so that you receive beauty as a personal gift. A reminder that even in a life marked by pain, there is still a thread of wonder. This is a sign from her, a quiet insistence that ugliness does not have the final word. There are signs of protection that you only understand later, sometimes much later. Think of a time when you were delayed for no good reason. The bus did not come, the keys were misplaced. A small inconvenience forced you to leave a little later than planned. You fumed at the interruption, not knowing that ahead of you something was unfolding that you were not meant to encounter. Or recall a season when you chased a certain relationship, or opportunity, or dream with all your strength, and every attempt seemed blocked. Doors closed repeatedly. People did not respond. Documents were lost. You felt rejected, abandoned by heaven, even punished. Yet years later, looking back from a different vantage point, you realize that what you so desperately wanted at that time would have done you harm. The path you were kept from has since shown its darker side. In that frustrating resistance, a hand was gently but firmly on your shoulder. Mary often protects by not allowing certain things to happen, by placing a soft barrier where you only saw bad luck. Her refusal can be one of her clearest signs, though it rarely feels like it in the moment. Mary gives signs of warning that are unlike the harsh alarms of fear. There are decisions that shine bright on the surface but carry shadows underneath. The world around you applauds them. Friends encourage them. They promise immediate relief, fast comfort, quick escape. In such situations, you may feel an inner disquiet that does not match the outward enthusiasm. It is not the anxiety of timidity. It is more like a subtle misalignment, as if part of your soul refuses to step forward. Sleep becomes thinner. Joy in prayer fades when you think about this choice. Small obstacles keep appearing. This is often Mary whispering her caution. She stands at the threshold and quietly places her hand against the door, not slamming it, but making it a little harder to walk through. If you ignore this and push ahead, she does not abandon you. She follows, grieving for what you will suffer. But if you heed it, if you trust the lack of peace more than the promise of quick gratification, you are responding to a sign she has placed directly in your heart. Mary also loves to speak through people, ordinary people who have no idea they are carrying her message. You may be sitting with a friend who suddenly feels compelled to tell you something about their own journey, perhaps a struggle with faith, a moment of surrender, a hidden pain. They share it almost casually, and yet their words strike you with unusual force. You feel exposed in a gentle way, seen and understood without having shared your whole story. Or you go to confession and the priest, who does not know you, addresses precisely the hidden knot you have been afraid to name. Or a child says something simple and direct that cuts through your complicated excuses. These encounters are not staged in a rigid sense, but Mary knows how to arrange providence. She nudges one heart to speak and another to listen. The person who speaks is not an angel. They are often as fragile as you, yet through them, she slips you a message from heaven. There are deeper turning points where a single encounter changes the direction of your life. The day you met someone who awakened your capacity to love, or who led you out of isolation. The day a teacher or mentor believed in you when you had given up on yourself. The day a stranger invited you to an event, a pilgrimage, a retreat, or simply to sit and talk. and from that moment, a new path opened. These are not random intersections. Behind them stands a mother who has been watching not only your wounds, but your gifts. She knows who can call forth the beautiful in you, and she does what she can, within the respect for human freedom, to bring those faces across your path. That is one of her signs. Not only that she exists, but that she has a particular, concrete interest in you and in what you might become. Mary's signs often come wrapped in timing that feels either too slow or too fast to human eyes. You live in a world that loves immediacy. You want quick results, instant answers, visible outcomes. When grace moves slowly, the temptation is to assume it is not moving at all. Yet look at her own life. She carried the promise of God in her womb for months before anyone else knew. She waited years for her son to begin his public mission. She stood beneath a cross that seemed to cancel everything, then waited again in the space between death and resurrection. Her heart has been trained in divine time. When she acts in your life, she often does so according to that rhythm. A sign of this is when a desire in you does not disappear even though it remains unfulfilled. You ask and ask for something not trivial, but genuinely good, and the answer seems delayed beyond reason. You grow impatient. You question your own motives. You feel foolish for hoping. Yet the desire refuses to die. It deepens, is purified, sheds layers of ego. In this process, Mary is working quietly. She is not ignoring you. She is enlarging your capacity to receive. When, at last, an answer comes, it fits so precisely with the shape of your soul that you begin to understand why the waiting was allowed. Her sign was not only the gift itself, but the long preparation that made the gift truly yours. There are also situations where everything happens quickly, where doors open at a pace you did not plan. You might feel swept along by events, surprised at how seemingly impossible obstacles fall away before you even have time to worry about them. In these seasons, Mary may be accelerating what had to happen before fear paralyzes you. She knows when your heart is ready, and she sometimes moves fast to align circumstances. The speed is itself a sign, showing that there is a grace carrying you that is bigger than your own planning. Mary's signs move through the natural world as well, not in crude manipulation, but in the gentle directing of your attention. Perhaps you are in a time of inner darkness, and each day feels heavy and gray. Then, without planning, you step outside at the exact moment when light breaks through the clouds, and you find yourself standing still, breathing deeper, feeling an unexpected gratitude. Or you are sitting beneath a tree, trying to untangle a decision, and the rustling of the leaves calms your racing thoughts long enough for the most honest intuition to rise to the surface. Or on a day when you are grieving, a small bird lands very close and remains there for a while, its presence strangely consoling. These are not childish fantasies. They are ways in which Mary uses God's creation as a living language, aligning external scenes with your interior needs so that you feel accompanied by more than human hands. Sometimes her sign comes in a sacred place you did not plan to visit. You are drawn into a chapel out of curiosity, or you accompany someone else without much interest. As you sit there, you notice an image of Mary that seems to look directly at you. Perhaps it is chipped, old, simple in style. Yet something in her face speaks to you, perhaps her eyes, or the way she holds the child, or the sorrow in her expression. For a moment, the centuries between you and the artist disappear, and you feel as if the mother herself has drawn close. This impression is not imagination alone. It is one of her tender signs. She has taken advantage of your small openness and slipped through, even if you did not intend to pray. Mary also gives signs through sacramental life, often in ways that only become clear afterward. You may go to Mass out of habit, distracted and weary, and a particular part of the liturgy pierces you unexpectedly. A phrase, a gesture, a moment of silence between songs, something that by itself seems ordinary. Yet for you, that day becomes luminous. Or you go to confession with a vague sense of duty, not expecting much, and leave lighter than you thought possible, carrying a peace that surprises you each time you take a breath. Or you receive the Eucharist with little feeling, yet later notice that your capacity for patience, for charity, for forgiveness is slightly increased. In all of this, Mary is at work, not as the source of grace, but as the mother who prepares her children to receive grace well. Her sign is that she bends your heart into a more receptive shape. One of her most misunderstood signs is found in silence. People often say that they asked Mary for a sign and received nothing. No movement, no change, no feeling. It seems natural to conclude that she is not listening, that she is absent or indifferent. Yet in many cases, her answer is precisely the invitation to remain, to stay close even when nothing appears to happen. Her silence is not an empty void. It is a space she guards around you while a deeper work is being done, often invisibly. When no clear sign comes, you are forced to purify your motives. Do you seek her only for comfort, or do you truly want to be her child? Do you trust only when you get what you asked for? Or are you willing to trust, even when the path is obscured? In this quiet, Mary teaches you to live by faith, not by constant confirmation. That itself is a sign of great love. If she flooded you with visible signs at every step, your soul would grow dependent on them and never develop the muscles of trust. So she gives just enough light to keep you moving, then allows stretches of night where the memory of light must carry you. You feel abandoned, but you are held. Her silence wraps around you like a cloak, protecting the germination of seeds that would die if dug up too often for inspection. Within the deepest chambers of your heart, Mary sends signs that are almost indistinguishable from your own emerging desires. There are moments when you suddenly want to be better, not in a vague, anxious way, but concretely. You realize you want to forgive someone. You want to leave behind a habit that is slowly poisoning you. You want to dedicate more time to prayer, to service, to love. These impulses can seem fragile, competing with older patterns and fears, yet their very sweetness marks them as coming from elsewhere. This is Mary's influence. She asks for you, and in response, grace begins to work in you from the inside, awakening desires that reflect the heart of her Son. Sometimes her inner sign takes the form of discontent with superficial things that once satisfied you. Activities, entertainments, conversations that once left you excited now leave you strangely empty. You are not sinking into despair, you are being invited deeper. Mary is loosening your attachment to the shallow so that you will have space for the profound. The emptiness you feel is not a sign of her absence, but a sign that she is preparing a place in you for a love that is more durable than distraction. Souls miss Mary's signs because they imagine that holiness must always be extraordinary. They expect visions, ecstasies, manifestations that would remove all possibility of doubt. When these do not come, they assume that heaven has nothing to say to them, that they are unworthy of attention. But Mary is not interested in impressing you. She is interested in saving you, in forming you, in making you more alive and more capable of love. For that purpose, the most effective signs are not the loudest, but the ones that slip past your defenses into your ordinary days. I am Elias, and I urge you to look again at your own story through this lens. Think of that night when you felt you had reached the end, when you were ready to give up, and yet somehow something held you back. You lived through that night. You did not cross the line you feared. Something quiet intervened. Problem Dr. Slodent. Something quiet intervened. Think of the person who forgave you when you could not forgive yourself, and how that changed your relationship to God. Think of the unexpected visit to a shrine, or the simple rosary that ended up in your pocket without you planning it, and how each bead between your fingers later became a rope in a storm. Think of the illnesses that taught you compassion, the failures that humbled you just enough to make you kind. These are not mere accidents. They are traces of a mother's hand, forming you slowly, answering your plea for a sign in ways you did not yet know how to read. If you desire to become more attuned to the signs Mary gives, you do not need to chase the spectacular. You are invited instead to cultivate a listening heart. At the start of your day, you can entrust it to her in simple words, asking her to guide your perceptions and to show you, in her way, that she is near. You can move through your hours with a little more awareness, noticing not only what goes wrong, but also what gently aligns. At night, you can look back and ask where you felt a flicker of peace, where you were interrupted in a way that protected you, where a word or a glance gave you courage. Over time, a pattern will appear. What once looked like scattered moments will begin to form a line, and at the end of that line you will see her. From sunrise to nightfall, in crowded streets and in empty rooms, in the laughter of children and the silence of hospital corridors, Mary is sending small signals of presence. She speaks in the softness that returns after anger, in the courage that rises after confession, in the hope that refuses to die, even when every external sign points to despair. She is the quiet persistence of the good within you, the gentle return of prayer after long neglect, the strange certainty deep down that your life is not meaningless. In the end, the greatest sign she gives is continuity. She does not appear for a moment and then vanish, leaving you to guess. She accompanies you from the first stirrings of faith to your last breath. Even when you fall, even when you forget, even when you run, when at last you are allowed to see your life as it truly was, you will recognize that you were never without her. The coincidences were not coincidences. The protections were not luck. The consolations were not sentimental weakness. They were messages, each one from a heart that has never stopped watching you. Yet there are still other ways Mary gives signs that most souls never notice, because they seem so modest that the mind quickly looks past them. She often writes her messages in the rhythm of your own breathing, in the fact that after storms that should have broken you, you continue to rise. Consider how many mornings you have opened your eyes after nights of turmoil. You might say that this is natural, that the body simply keeps going. But many have tasted despair so bitter that they did not want to see another sunrise. If you have ever known that feeling and still found in yourself even the faintest will to step forward, know that this, too, can be a sign. Mary has been standing watch at the boundary between your weariness and complete surrender. Each time you choose to live when it would be easier to give up, her hand is present, even if you are not aware of it. She also places signs in the history of families, in the chain that connects generations. Perhaps you grew up in a house where an image of her hung on a wall, often ignored, gathering dust. Perhaps a grandmother whispered her name over you when you were too young to understand. Perhaps someone in your family lit candles before her year after year. Even if you did not share their faith, those gestures have marked you. Mary remembers every prayer that has ever been entrusted to her. She does not forget. One of her signs is that the petitions of those who loved you before you could love yourself are still active over your life. When you turn toward her now, you are not starting a new relationship from nothing. You are stepping into a river of intercession that has been flowing quietly for years, sometimes for centuries. The sense that you are somehow carried by a story larger than your own is another way she lets you know that she has never taken her eyes off you. There are times when her sign takes the form of a book that falls into your hands at exactly the right moment. You may wander into a shop without intention, or scroll absent-mindedly through pages, and a title catches your attention. You pick it up, expecting little, and then discover that its pages contain words that speak with uncanny precision to your questions. Or you read a passage of scripture that you have read many times before, and suddenly it burns on the page. You see your situation mirrored in an ancient story, and the distance between then and now disappears. Mary loves to guide hearts to what will nourish them. She cannot force you to read, but she can arrange that certain pages, certain lines, meet you when you are finally ready. The light that dawns in your mind in those moments is not an accident. It is a sign that she has been guiding your search. Her signs can also be hidden in the way your conscience awakens. There are actions you once committed without a second thought that now trouble you. You find yourself uneasy about words that tear down, about entertainment that dulls your soul, about attitudes that close your heart to the poor. You might be tempted to interpret this as a loss of freedom, as a rigid tightening of your world. In truth, it is the opposite. Mary is enlarging your freedom by helping you see what truly harms you and others. The new sensitivity you feel, the discomfort with what once seemed normal, is a sign that she is polishing the mirror of your heart so that it can reflect more clearly the face of her Son. That polishing can sting, but it is a sign of her loving work. There are signs in community as well. You may find yourself drawn to a particular group of believers, to a small prayer gathering, to a community that lives the gospel in a way that both attracts and challenges you. There, through the way they love one another, through the way they bear suffering, through the way they show mercy, you glimpse something you had almost stopped believing possible. Mary often uses such communities as living icons. She gathers her children there to make visible what is usually hidden. The very fact that you feel at home in a place where her name is honored, even if you cannot fully explain why, is a sign. The peace that settles on you in that environment, the unforced joy that rises as you pray with others, is her way of saying that you do not have to walk this path alone. Sometimes her sign is the courage to ask for help. Pride resists this. Pride insists on handling everything alone, on hiding weakness, on maintaining a brave mask. When, in a moment of humility, you finally admit to someone that you are struggling, that you are tempted, that you are afraid, that admission is not solely your own doing. Mary has been working on your heart from within, softening its defenses so that you can open a door. Through that open door, grace can enter more freely. The answer you receive from the person you trust, the relief that comes from being known, the advice that helps you take one small step. All of this is linked to her hidden influence. She has been nudging you toward that conversation for a long time. Mary also gives signs in the way certain memories refuse to fade. You may think back often to a particular encounter, a moment of peace in childhood, a time when you felt that heaven was near. Perhaps it was a pilgrimage, or a visit to a shrine, or a simple afternoon in a quiet church. The memory returns not to accuse you, but to call you. It is like a small lamp burning at the back of your mind. You might try to bury it under noise and busyness, yet it persists. Mary allows such memories to remain vivid because they are anchors. They are reminders of who you really are, beneath the layers of disappointment and sin. Each time the memory surfaces, inviting you to reconsider your path, you are being offered a sign. She is whispering that the grace you tasted once is not lost forever. There are signs written in your very wounds. This is perhaps the hardest truth to accept. The places where you have been hurt, where you have failed, where you carry shame, can become the places where Mary speaks most tenderly. When you bring these wounds to her, even haltingly, she does not recoil. She draws nearer. Over time, with a patience that stretches across years, she helps you see that your scars do not disqualify you from love. Instead, they can make you more compassionate, more open to the pain of others. When you notice that you are able to comfort someone with a wound similar to your own. When you realize that what once seemed only dark has become a point where you can share light. Then know that Mary has traced her sign across that hurt. She has not erased the past, but she has transformed its meaning. Her signs are also hidden in the strange resilience of hope. There are situations that by human calculation should produce cynicism, bitterness, despair. Perhaps you have experienced betrayal, injustice, loss. By all appearances, you should have closed your heart. Yet something within you refuses to fully harden. A small part of you continues to believe that goodness is still possible. That stubborn hope is not naive. It is a sign that Mary has been guarding the deepest core of your soul. She will not allow it to be entirely conquered by darkness. You may feel tired, even broken, but the fact that you can still imagine a future where love matters is itself evidence of her maternal protection. At times, she gives signs in dreams, not always in visions of her, but in symbolic scenes that stay with you. A dream of being led out of a dark house into the open air, a dream of crossing a river, a dream of laying down a heavy burden. You may wake with the feeling that something important has been communicated, even if you cannot fully interpret it. Mary can use the language of the unconscious to reach you when your waking mind is too defended. She does not manipulate your mind. She respects your freedom. Yet she can inspire images that reflect the journey your soul is called to make. The lingering sense of invitation you feel after such dreams can be one of her signs. There are also signs in the way your anger changes over time. At first, it might be sharp, directed at God, at others, at yourself. You may lash out, withdraw, rehearse grievances in your thoughts. But as you entrust your anger, even minimally, to Mary, something begins to shift. The edges soften. You start to distinguish between the hurt you suffered and the people through whom it came. You see more clearly your own part and the part that belongs to others and to circumstances beyond anyone's control. This gradual transformation of anger into sorrow and then into compassion is not something you produce alone. It bears the mark of her patient intercession. She holds your rage within her own pierced heart until it can be healed, and the healing itself is a sign she has been at work all along. Mary's signs are not meant to trap you in constant analysis, trying to decode every detail of your life. They are meant to draw you into relationship. As you grow in trust, you will begin to recognize them more easily. Not because you have become a clever interpreter, but because you know her voice. When someone you love calls you from another room, you know it is them even if you cannot see them. In a similar way, as you learn to spend time with Mary, to speak to her and to listen in the quiet, her way of acting will become familiar. Then the signs that once seemed ambiguous will feel more like the natural language of a mother who has always been there. I am Elias, and I know that for many hearts, this may all sound too gentle. In a world that feels so violent and loud, you may wonder why Mary does not intervene more forcefully, why her signs are not overwhelming enough to convince everyone instantly. Yet love that overpowers is not the love she has learned from her son. She stands beneath the cross and lets freedom remain. Even when that freedom nails love to wood, she will not violate the mystery of your freedom. She will not force you to love, to trust, to turn. She will surround you with invitations, with subtle signals, with persistent tenderness. But the final yes must be yours. The fact that she chooses to work in this humble way is not weakness. It is a sign of the immense respect heaven has for your dignity. If you begin, even a little, to recognize her signs, something profound will change in the way you live. You will move from seeing your days as random sequences of events to seeing them as a story in which a mother is present. The same difficulties will arise, the same struggles, the same temptations, but beneath them runs another layer, a layer of meaning shaped by her love. When you suffer, you will look for how she is near. When you rejoice, you will see her joy in your joy. When you fall, you will feel her hand helping you to rise rather than a finger pointing in condemnation. This shift will not remove pain, but it will anchor you, filling even the darkest hours with a quiet hope that you are not forgotten. From the first moment of your existence, Mary has known your name. She has watched you breathe, watched you laugh, watched you wander, watched you weep. Each step of the way, she has been placing small signs along your path, like candles on a dark road. Some you have noticed, many you have stepped past without seeing. None of them have been wasted. She remembers everyone. Even now, as you listen to these words, she is already thinking of how to reach you next, how to console without smothering, how to warn without frightening, how to guide without chaining. Her heart is endlessly creative in love, so let your own heart be still for a moment. Let your memories rise without fear. Ask her gently to show you one sign from your past that you did not recognize at the time. Wait in the quiet. Perhaps a scene will return, an expression on someone's face, a narrow escape, a fragment of music, a sentence you once heard. Receive it as a gift. Allow yourself to believe, if only for an instant, that she was there. Then ask her to help you notice the signs she will send today and tomorrow, and in the days that follow. You do not need to control this. You do not need to strain. Simply be willing. In time, you will discover that the world around you is not empty, that your life is not an isolated struggle. You will find Mary's fingerprints on more moments than you can count. You will see that her signs were never about impressing you, but always about drawing you, step by step, into a deeper communion with her Son. And one day, when the veil is lifted and you see clearly, you will realize that every quiet consolation, every timely interruption, every protecting delay, every mysterious peace, and every resilient hope was her answer to the cry you uttered so many times without knowing who was listening. You begged for a sign. She has been answering that prayer all along, in ways more tender, more patient, and more faithful than you ever imagined.